Hey guys, welcome back to the channel where today I thought we'd take a quick little look at the new bullpup chassis for your AR15 replica from my friends at SRU. Now, the reason I thought it would be quite prudent to take a look at the kit now, as opposed to once it was actually partnered up with the EMG Noveske that we're going to install, is because this kit really does represent a leap forward for SRU in terms of not only their manufacturing process, but the materials used and some of the solutions they've come up to with previously experienced problems in bullpup technology or bullpup kits. So, like I say, without further ado, let's have a quick look at it and I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. So, in the box, I've got a couple of little extra goodies which I'll talk about in a minute. They are courtesy of SRU, but they don't necessarily come with the kit that you will have out of the box. So what we have here is, let's start at the front. Keeping with SRU's tradition of 3D printed products, they've been kind enough to send me out this Foregrip for the kit. Now this is typical 3D print. You can see the sort of print weave on it. It's very, very rigid and strong. It's going to serve well as a foregrip, quite comfortable. They're always very good at coming up with designs. But yeah, it's fairly basic, fairly scratchy. There are a hell of a lot of alternatives that SRU actually do already. You can get a full sort of shroud for your rail system. There's sort of angled grips and all the rest of it as well. But they've been kind enough to send this free one out to me to have a look at. So we will be putting that on the rifle as well. This is the first product that I wanted to talk to you about, which is the change of materials. Now, in previous kits I've had from SRU and other manufacturers as well, when I've looked at these sort of chassis, body kits, bullpup kits, whatever they may be, you get a 3D printed product, and a lot of these products are 3D print front to back, no matter what the object is, whether it be a stock or anything like that. It's this material front to back, you know, this sort of not scratchy but not smooth. You can feel the weave in it. Very, very strong, well put together. Great. But it's awesome to see SRU putting in this, which is this sort of rubber material. Again, little flex in it. It's super strong, but it's just going to be so much more comfortable. Now, this item in particular is going to be your sort of cheek weld, your cheek rest, if you like, once the kit's actually manufactured. You can see that this is actually a protrusion for your ejecting shells, because it's going to go over the ejection port. Now, obviously in airsoft there is no ejection, but the reason this is here is because part of the reason this is such a leap forward is the sort of what I'll refer to as the dribble down effect. So this kit, which I will remove from the box for your viewing pleasure now, this kit is actually available in two forms. Now, this is the airsoft variant, but real steel versions are available. SRU are transitioning into the real steel market. It's something they've been talking about for quite some time now, and this kit represents the first foray into that market. The real steel version is visually identical to the airsoft variant, although they do state categorically on their website, do not use the airsoft version on a real steel gun. it's less rigid, it's less capable of dealing with the recoil, and more likely to explode in your hands. So let's not do that. As I say, visually this is identical. And when I talk about the dribble down effect, it's the fact that because you're making something for the real steel market, you're using much higher grade materials. You can see that this is not your standard 3D print. This is a very, very high quality polymer that we've got here, that even in this Airsoft variant has absolutely no flex whatsoever. It is stiff and rigid, and yet remarkably comfortable to hold and handle, manipulate. As I say, we're getting that dribble down effect. So much like Formula One, for example, the technology that starts off in Formula One, whether it was the EV technology, whether it's gearbox technology, that kind of thing, eventually begins to dribble down into the consumer market, whether it starts off in sports cars and then makes its way down into high-end GTs and eventually turns up on your Ford Fiesta. But we've got the same effect here, where they've made something specifically for the real steel market, and we as airsofters are benefiting from that technology dribbling down. So we've got much higher grade materials in use. We've got this kind of rubberized effect for the cheek well, which is naturally what a real steel user would expect. Same with the butt pad at the rear, all rubberized, really, really nice, grippy, and yet soft to the touch. Now, this comes in this particularly fetching shade of green. They do them in a plethora of colours. The buffer tubes are usually this burnt bronze effect, which I think looks really, really nice with the green, actually. That in itself has made me wonder whether I need to put a bronze rail on the front of the EMG to sort of square it out. I think it would look pretty sick, really. We'll have to figure that one out when we actually get to it. But suffice to say, yeah, this is all premium grade metal, not Chinesium. This is really, really nice. The other metal grade component is actually probably the most important and represents a fine piece of engineering, I must say. And that's actually the trigger system, which if I tilt it, you can see is all metal. In previous bullpup kits, not only from SRU, but every kit I've ever seen, it uses this sort of rod system where the new trigger at the front will actuate a rod that goes back and just literally pushes against the existing trigger to fire it. The problem that has always plagued those is, again, these items have been 3D printed, and as such there is a flex to them, and the trigger never felt quite as good as the original trigger felt. I'm not saying they felt awful or bad. It was that classic kind of slightly dead, slightly sloppy feel to most bullpup AEGs that you would get, and that kind of thing. But again, because of this dribble down effect, we now have a fully metal, really well engineered actuating arm set up, and that's no understatement when I say it's really well engineered. The tolerances on this are fantastic, in the fact that I only need to breathe on the trigger and it's moving and actuating. And where it's actually positioned, there's no wobble in it at all. It is really, really well manufactured in terms of how it's sat in the kit and how the tolerances of how everything actuates and twists on each other. We do, as you can see down here as well, have an adjustment so that you can pull your trigger all the way back to the break point and this kind of thing, so you can literally have a hair trigger if that's what you're looking for. This is a static pin at the front, so you can, the retention pin you can push out and you can't lose it. Hang on, I say that, there we go, we can't even get it out, but you can't lose it, it's static into the kit, and that is what's going to retain your front rail in place. Again, all metal, that will attach to the bottom of your rail and then billet in here, which is very, very nice. I can't actually get it to line up now with one hand, which makes me look rather foolish. There we go, that's in. And obviously the buffer tube and everything will retain the system in place as well. Your trigger grouping will go down here. Your mag obviously comes up through the bottom of the kit there. But all in all, I am super impressed with this. Can't wait to get it put together. Can't wait to see how it actually performs. Oh, one thing I should mention as well, obviously there's no pistol grip. You will either use your existing pistol grip off of your AR15, which we have this sort of mock receiver section down here, so that if you have the dovetailed section and everything, that will still work with it. Standardized sort of mount for your pistol grip, which is cool. So it again is a customizable option along with your rail system and what have you as well. Obviously optics you choose, anything else. Again, SRU do a plethora of sort of risers and everything else, which are 3D printed and everything. So you really can customize this to look and feel exactly how you want it, or you know, just make something completely different or wacky off the board. Thanks very much for watching, guys. I thought it was vital to sort of show you this leap forward in technology, because you're not going to be able to see it. Thank you to the hot rod that just went by my house, or the boy racer. I'm really not sure what that exhaust was supposed to be. Yeah, it really does represent that leap forward, and I don't think once it was actually installed and the EMG was sort of covering everything, that you'd fully get to appreciate that. So I wanted to show you that today. One thing we will finish up on is the extra goodies that SRU sent through. Depending on what you're putting in it, SRU do a series of different springs and sort of bolt carriers and that kind of thing. Obviously we've gone for the MWS ones because we're putting a Noveske in it. But if you have a VFC or anything like that, there are options available for those as well. All available from sruprecision.com. As always, if you are shopping direct from them, use Paladin at checkout for 10% off your purchases. Not the postage, just the purchases themselves. That wraps things up for today, guys. Please check in the description down below for links to SRU, to Outlaw Airsoft, who is going to help me put all this together. My dogs have now decided they want to play Rough House down in the corner of the room. It's one of those days. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.